The Beta Delta chapter at the University of Arizona in 2017 is a vibrant, thriving chapter with 280 members. Thetas are involved all over campus in honoraries, academic fraternities, and various service organizations. They have a 3.23 chapter GPA, and every semester they hold numerous sisterhood, service, philanthropic, and social events. Beta Delta's roots begin with the local sorority Gamma Phi Sigma, started by 5 female university students in 1905, when Arizona was still a territory and the university had only 226 students. There were no high schools in the territory, so the U of A had a prep school where students rode ponies to class. The Gamma Phi started writing to Kappa Alpha Theta, expressing their interest in becoming Thetas. Correspondence shows the perseverance of the local chapter, and in 1909 they even changed their colors to black and gold. The Gamma Phi Sigma petition was officially granted at Theta's 24th convention in Michigan in 1917.
On Friday, September 14, 1917, 5 graduate Gamma Phi Sigmas were initiated into Kappa Alpha Theta during the day, and they assisted with initiating the 15 Gamma Phi Sigma undergraduates that night. At 6 p.m. on Saturday, September 15, 1917, the chapter was installed, followed by a banquet at the Tucson Golf and Country Club. Letters and telegrams of welcome and congratulations come from all over the country. There is a certain sadness in the parting with the old relationship, but happiness reigns supreme as we now embark upon our first voyage into national fraternal life. Martha Casey, November 1917, Kappa Alpha Theta Magazine. The first meeting of the Beta Delta chapter was held September 22, 1917.
2 notable charter members were Jane Ryder and Dr. Mary Estelle Caldwell. Jane was the oldest initiate into Beta Delta, having graduated from the U of A with a BS in Civil Engineering in 1911, making her the state's first female engineer. She started as a bacteriologist for the state lab, becoming its director 7 years later. She helped establish the link between Arizona's high infant mortality rate and contaminated milk, and convinced the dairy industry of the need for pasteurization. She worked in the health field in Arizona for 50 years and spent 16 of them as the state's director of hospital surveys and construction, overseeing a new building for St. Joseph's Hospital and additions to Good Samaritan and Maricopa County General Hospitals. She received many honors and awards in her life and passed away at 91.
Mary Estelle graduated from the U of A in 1918 with a bachelor's degree and in 1919 with a master's. She joined Gamma Phi Sigma her freshman year and held numerous positions on campus. After graduation, became a biology instructor at the university, where she met her husband, Thornhill Caldwell, when he moved to Tucson to teach zoology in 1920. They both received their PhDs in Chicago, making Mary one of the first women in the U.S. to earn a PhD in microbiology. They moved back to Tucson, and Mary was named head of what is now the microbiology department. After her husband's death, she became a professor of pharmacology, where she was involved with chemotherapy research, searching for cancer-fighting properties in Southwest indigenous plants. She died in 1995, having lived in Arizona for 94 of her 98 years. Her legacy lives on in awards and scholarships given to graduate students who are interested in cancer research.
In the 1920s, the members were very involved on campus, especially with popular dramatics, clubs, athletics, the yearbook, and mortarboard, and typically placed second in grades out of 9 sororities most semesters. The Thetas were well known for their annual Yama Yama Halloween dance. The dorm halls had become more crowded as the campus population grew, so they started fundraising to build a house of their own. Ground was broken on the new house by Mrs. Beatty, the house mother, on November 19, 1927. The chapter had 18 members fall of 1929 when Elizabeth Abbott was crowned Desert Queen, and the actor Buddy Rogers selected Margaret Loper as the most beautiful co-ed. November 1928 saw the Beta Delta's formal opening of the first chapter house of a women's fraternity on campus. It cost $40,000 and housed 32 women. There have been two major additions since, the first in 1948, which went north along Mountain Avenue, adding the living room and upstairs chapter and study rooms, now housing 34 women. The second addition in 1961 added the entire north wing with the current front door, dining room, kitchen, and shoebox bedrooms, as well as the tanning porch and an additional sleeping porch upstairs.
The 1930s saw the chapter grow and members being initiated who came from all over the country. Thetas were elected to honoraries, won recognitions for involvement, and were all-round outstanding students. They held teas and formals, celebrated Founders Day with luncheons, and actively raised funds for landscaping their new home. In February 1934, Mary Melton got married in the Theta house to Millard Haymore, a Sigma Chi. Mrs. Campbell became the new house mother that same year. They were first in grades in spring of '34 and won many float building contests. There were more queens in attendance, and they won the homecoming house decorating contest. The 1939 yearbook even mentions that the chapter had a goat for a week.
In the 1940s, the Thetas had dinner dances, winter formals, and went caroling with fraternities. The house was remodeled in 1940. Bamboo furniture was installed in one of the upstairs rooms in 1940 for studying and relaxing. Thetas held many positions on campus, including the president of the Associated Women Students, were elected to mortarboard Phi Kappa Phi, and were awarded Phi Beta Kappa keys. More than one outstanding senior won the Freeman Medal for being the most outstanding girl in her class for 4 years during the decade. Others were selected rodeo queens and desert queens. They were competitive in intramural sports, namely swimming, baseball, and hockey. Thetas won the Panhellenic Scholarship Cup for highest grades many times and held a dance for the Navy who were stationed on campus. Houseboys were scarce in 1943, so the members had to take turns in the kitchen doing dishes and serving tables until some could be located. When a movie was filming in town, Thetas rushed to be extras, filling nearly every spot, but soon decided school was easier than movies. Cadets from Ryan Field were brought in for the 1943 pledge dance due to the shortage of men on campus. The Red Cross opened a chapter on campus where many Thetas started working.
Joanne Stevens Eller. I was pledged in 49. That's 1949. Oh, I was president in 51. Loved it. Had such a good time. We had a fabulous year, so it always makes you feel good. Patricia Kunze Mason Tanner. I pledged Kappa Alpha Theta in September of 1951, and I was initiated in March of 1952. Oh, and I was president in 1954.
My name is Joan Johnson Yost. I pledged Beta Delta chapter of Kappa Alpha Theta in 1958. I was president in 1961. There were 86 members in the chapter when I was president.
My name is Sally Lawrence Serrain, and I presently live in San Diego. I pledged as a freshman in the class of 1959. I served as president the spring and fall semesters of 1962, and I believe there were about 110 women in the chapter during that year.
I was in the pledge class of 1968. I was president in 1971.
Hi Thetas, my name is Catherine Gormley Taylor. also known as Kappa or Gorm. I served as Vice President Pledge Trainer, while Ann Chambers Glassmoyer was the President of Beta Delta from September of 1972 through May of 1973.
Hi, my name is Barbara Stanley DeMichael, and I was a part of the 1971 Pledge class at Beta Delta. I served as President in 1974-75 when we had approximately 120 girls in the chapter.
I'm Becky Voss Gettings. I pledged in 1973 and was initiated in 1974. I served as president of Beta Delta in 1976, and at that time there were 70 women in our chapter.
Hi, I'm Elaine Cummings McGinnis. Our class pledged in 1979, close to 39 years ago, and were initiated in 1980. I was honored to be president in 1982, and at the time we had close to 150 chapter members.
My name is Mary Galloway. My married name is Freeman, and I pledged the Beta Delta House in the fall of 1980. I served as chapter president in 1983, and at that time I think there were about 120 members in the sorority.
My name is Susan Schwab Sinclair, and I was a Beta Delta Theta in the 80s. I pledged in the class of 1983, and I was president between 85 and 86. When I was at the house, we had about 60 women in each pledge class, and there were about 140 total Thetas at the time.
My name is Ann Katzenbach-Harris. I pledged fall 1985 and was president of the Beta Delta chapter in 1988. The chapter for the first time hit 200 members my senior year.
Hi, I'm Diane Bolden. My maiden name was Diane Coker. I pledged Theta in 1986 at the University of Arizona, and I was president in 1989. And I think we had about 200 women in the chapter at that time.
Hi, I'm Marianne McLaughlin Anderson. I pledged Theta in 1988. I was president in 1991, and we had 208 girls in the class when I was president, and my pledge class had 58 girls.
Hi, my name is Kim Corchagrosa. My maiden name was Leszewski. I pledged in 1989, and I was initiated in 1990 and was president in 1992. And at that time, I think there were probably about, we had about 60 girls in our pledge class, so I'm thinking there were about 250 to 300 girls in the house.
Hi, I'm Ashley George Staples, and I was a pledge in the fall of 1993. I was the president in 1996, and at that time we had about 146 women in the house.
Hi, I'm Bridget Regan. I was pledge class of 1996 and was the president during the 1999 year. And I believe at the time, and I'm totally could be mistaken, but there was maybe around 150, 160 active members at Theta at the time.
Hi, my name's Jillian Woodark Derrick, and I was part of the new member class of 1999. I was the Beta Delta chapter president in 2002, and at the time we had about 160 active members.
I'm Jessie Binko. I was PC 07, and I was president from 2009 to 2010. When I was president of Theta, I believe there were just over 200 members.
Hi, my name is Amy Povinelli. I was in the class of 2007. I was chapter president in 2010, and there are about 200 beautiful ladies in the chapter.
Hi everyone, my name is Hannah Stewart. I was in new member class 2008, and I was president in 2011. And when I was president, there were around 250 girls in the chapter.
Hello, my name is Samantha Salaya. I am a part of new member class 2011, and I was president during 2013. During that time, there were about 275 women in the chapter.
Hi everyone, my name is Maddie Harwood. I was a member of Pledge Class 2012. I was president of Theta my junior to senior year, which was calendar year 2015. And when I was president, there was around 300 women in the chapter.
My name is Brianna Cicinelli. I'm from the Pledge Class of 2014. I was just the president last year in 2017, and the chapter currently has about 300 women.
Well, Susie Burns and I had not had a date in about 100,000 years, and we were sick of people knowing that. So what we did is we were pretty sick of everything, to be perfectly honest, on this particular night. So we ordered the one thing we knew would make us feel better, which was 2 extra large pizzas. But instead of putting them in our name so that the PA system would say, Kathy Gormley, your pizza's here, we put it in the name of the skinniest, cutest girl in our class, Gail Abel. And we'd say, and so all we heard all over the house on that Saturday night was, Gail Abel, your pizzas are here, when really they were ours. Oh well.
My favorite Theta memory is when I was philanthropy chair. I planned a burrito bash, and we had a late night burrito party inside of Theta, which I don't think you're allowed to do anymore. But it was a blast, everyone was there, and we raised a ton of money for CASA.
We used to tie 2-bedroom doors together with rope, and then we'd go to the loudspeaker and announce that those in the rooms had male callers. And then we would not so quietly sneak into the sleeping porch late at night and put a funny poster over people's beds so that that was the first thing that they saw in the morning.
My favorite part of being president was that after 3 years of sleeping on the sleeping porch, I got to have a room to myself.
One of my favorite memories of Beta Delta is when a large produce truck tipped over on its way into Tucson. Magically, our house mother and cook heard about the spill. At our next sit-down dinner, we each had a whole artichoke on our plate. Of course, they came with instructions from our house mother about how to eat that edible plant, which most of us had never seen before.
Another favorite memory involves the tandem bike. So we used to take this tandem bike that was pretty old but fairly reliable on, various trips to the local bars. I remember a whole lot of laughs. I remember a whole lot of people looking at us, and I only vaguely remember how we actually got back home.
One of the craziest things that ever happened to us, my roommate's boyfriend, Sigma Chi, came in and stole all the toilets out at 3 o'clock in the morning, toilet seats, and hung them all around Old Main. And they each had a poem on it. One I can still remember, George Washington may never have slept here, but many a Theta has sat here. I mean, it was, and then Buildings and Grounds called after about 5 days and said, you come get these toilet seats, Thetas, or they're going in the trash. So we had to go over and pick them up.
As for an event while I was at Theta, was our house mother, Mrs. C, was retiring, and she had been with the Beta Delta chapter for years.
There was a day that it was storming like crazy in Tucson, lightning, thunder, and the rain was just coming down in buckets. And I remember walking out onto the patio with Dana LeClaire and Julia Miller, and the 3 of us were standing on the Theta patio, just taking it all in, enjoying the weather and watching the light show. And I can't tell you exactly what happened, but there was a brilliant flash of light. Before we knew it, we were all on our butts sitting on the patio, and apparently lightning had struck literally within like a foot or 2 of where we were standing.
I have so many amazing memories, but I think what I love the most and what is so unique about that time in your life is living in a house with all your best friends, because you never get to do that again.
The president has had to, and I'm sure she might still have to, memorize the ritual at initiation. My dear friend Barbie Perry decided to give me some support. She would hide under the card table in the chapter room, which was blackened. She had it draped with a flashlight. Luckily, I had done my homework and I did not need her help. But what a dear friend to take that upon herself to help me if I needed her. That's what Theta's all about.
One of my favorite social events when I was social chairman in Theta was exchanges with other fraternities on campus. It gave us all a great opportunity to meet people from all over the country.
My favorite date dash was Cat in the Hat, and that's because you had to send your date a secret hat and he didn't know who you were, and then when you showed up you matched hats and that's how you found out who you're going with.
So a favorite social event for our time was primarily doing the Westerners, and they were always at the infamous Old Tucson.
My favorite social event was the annual Kite and Key dance that was held at a local ranch.
We had a Grease theme. We would put on a skit. As the president, I was Danny, and our rush chair Sue was Sandy, and we had so much fun dressing up and preparing, hours and hours and sleepless nights trying to get the perfect skit and presentation down for all of the rushies coming through.
During recruitment, we did Grease for our theme and skit. It was so much fun.
In 2014, the skit theme was the classic Grease. Our skit theme was Grease, but I think everyone's skit theme was Grease.
My most memorable Theta meal would have to be the Halloween extravaganza every year.
We had chicken cordon bleu, which was, we ate it because, well, at least I was hungry. Spud bar was always popular, and then the ever famous grasshopper pie for dessert.
If I had to pick one or two, it would have to be pizza and beeferdie, which if you don't know, it's breakfast for dinner.
One of my favorite Theta meals, except for mystery meat at the end of the month, was when we had barbecues on Friday night and we were able to invite guests over for hot dogs and hamburgers.
One of the classics, my first couple of years at Theta for food was Danny's chocolate chip cookies.
From our Monday night dinners into chapter, our chicken cordon bleu, and Mary would also sometimes write fat-free brownies on the whiteboard, which were not fat-free, but we cared about that at the time, so she did that to make us happy.
My most memorable Theta meal would have to be Halloween lunch. It was always so much fun. The staff decorated and dressed up the Theta kitchen.
I can remember a least favorite meal of probably everyone. One Monday night dinner, we all came down, and Betty, the cook, had decided that salmon loaf might be wonderful. And I remember everybody getting a big slab of the loaf, and nobody ate it.
My favorite Theta meal was grilled cheese and tomato soup, and then of course Danny's cookies.
So the most memorable meal, or rather food, would most definitely be ranch dressing. It almost became its own food group. It would show up every day in this big, huge bowl of which we would just pour it all over our salads. And I remember a hasher one time telling us that if we really knew what was in it, we wouldn't touch it.
I would say two. Dirt bags is, of course, a classic. And for sandwiches, Bag-Ins was the favorite. They had the best sandwiches in town.
My favorite Tucson hangout is definitely McHale Center. I loved going to the basketball games there, and I wish I could still go there all the time.
Well, hands down, my favorite place to have a sandwich was Sausage Deli, and it was the Susie sorority, although I have to admit, I'm not even really sure what exactly was in the Susie sorority now that I think about it, but I will never forget the name of it or the name of the place.
For me, actually, is Sausage Deli, and I know that sounds so lame, but I miss it. I love it. I'm a total fan of the Susie sorority, as cliche as that sounds.
My favorite Tucson only place is Dirtbags. Period. End of sentence. Everybody understands it's dirtbags. It's just, you know, it really is a part of growing up.
And, you know, all the great dive bars that we went to once in a while. Bob Dobbs, the Bay Horse, Green Dolphin, the buffet, of course.
My favorite fraternity on campus was ATO, so Alpha Tau Omega. My husband is an ATO, and I met him at U of A, and so that was my favorite. And Caveman was their big party back then, and got to attend that with a bunch of Thetas, and we had a great time.
One of my favorite fraternities consisted of two parts. Having grown up in a Sigma Chi family with a father and brother, I was involved in many of their activities when I went to school. But in my junior year, I met Jim, my future husband, who was a Kappa Sigma, and found out that they were a great group of young men as well. It must have worked out fine because my husband Jim and I celebrated our 54th anniversary.
Fraternities, I think that probably we spent a lot of time at the Fiji house at their cloud parties. That was always fun. I ended up marrying a SIGEP, but during college I seemed to be at the Fiji house a lot.
I don't think there's a better support system on the planet than my sorority sisters. So I wish for Beta Delta to have another 100 years of amazing relationships being built. I think the world would be a much better place if they all could have the experience to be a Beta Delta Theta. It's once in a lifetime.
My favorite tug at your heart moment was when my daughter, Kara, pledged Beta Delta. And I was able to participate in her initiation with my pledge mom, Karen Jones Campbell.
Theta is where I grew up. It's where I met my best friends. It's where I was encouraged to take leadership roles when I didn't think I had it in me. It's where it was a safe place for me to learn and to grow.
My best college experience was being president of Theta because it was like being the boss of 200 unpaid employees. And I think that if I can do that, I can do anything. And I really do think it helped shape my college career and made me into the person I am today. Plus, I found all of my very best friends through Theta, and then my sister was able to join Theta and meet her best friends as well.
Not only did it give me my best friends, which is something I don't know what I would do without and am forever thankful for, but it taught me how to work well with others and to understand that our differences can be positives and that there's something to learn from everyone.
My most treasured experience was developing the lifetime friendships that I have. My very best friends are from Theta to this day, and now 25 years later, they are the family that I got to choose. They are my very dearest friends. And when we're all together, it's like no time has passed. I cannot even begin to explain and express the heartwarming gratitude I have for the fun and funny and loyal, loving, smart, adventurous, caring, youthful, wonderful friends, mothers, wives, businesswomen, and warriors that I have in these girls. And they all help remind us that we are still those young girls in college at times. And I have no greater gift from college than my Theta girlfriends.
Happy birthday, Beta Delta.
Happy 100th birthday, Beta Delta.
Herman, you missed your 7 a.m. wake-up duty. People are so mad they missed their classes and their tests. Herman.
Happy birthday, Beta Delta.
Happy birthday, Beta Delta.
Happy birthday, Beta Delta.
Congratulations on 100 years, Beta Delta.
Congratulations on 100 years, Beta Delta.
Congratulations on 100 years, Beta Delta, Theta love, and mine.
Congratulations, Beta Delta, on 100 years. You are a jewel in the desert, and I'm so thankful that I got to be part of it for a little while.
And now abideth faith, hope, love, these three. But the greatest of these is love.